Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. So whether you got a new iPhone 11 or you're just updating your old iPhone to use iOS 13, here are 10 new features of iOS 13 to try out right away. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of supporters. I couldn't do the show without them. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about it, join us, and get exclusive content. So when you get a major new update, you want to try out new things. And we've got a lot of new things in iOS 13. More coming soon in iOS 13.1. But for now, here are 10 little features that you could play around with today on your iPhone. So first there's dark mode. A lot of people have been looking forward to having dark mode in iOS. To turn it on, you can go to Settings and then look for Display and Brightness. And then right at the top there you've got Appearance, Light and Dark. You could switch to dark mode. And this changes a lot of the default apps to dark mode, and more third-party apps are going to be supporting this. You could also set it to automatic, and then from the options you could do sunset to sunrise or a custom schedule. Now if you want to be able to turn it on and off easily, you can do that as well. Go to Control Center, then Customize Controls, and make sure you have dark mode added. So now it'll appear in Control Center. Just swipe down from the top right to bring up Control Center and you'll see it there. It's the little circle, half dark, half bright. You can tap that on or off. In the Messages app you can now share your name and photo with somebody automatically. So instead of relying on them to actually add you to their contacts and assign a picture, you can actually give them that information. Now when you first go to use Messages after updating, you'll be prompted to choose a name and photo. But you could also go and set it up later in Settings. If you choose that, just go to Settings and then look for Messages. In there you could share name and photo. So I can go in here. I can edit my photo. It's going to pick the one from my contact. But I can set my first name and my last name, and I can enable name and photo sharing. And when they're viewing a conversation that's from you, they'll have the ability to add this to their contacts or to replace their contact information with the one you provide. Also new in Settings is a low data mode. Go into Cellular like I just did and then look for cellular data options. And before you had roaming and things like that. Now you also have low data mode, which reduces your use of data from apps while you're on cellular networks rather than Wi-Fi. Now let's jump to the camera and also the Photos app. Now when you take video you can apply filters to it. So I'll just do a quick scan of my keyboard here and stop, and I can go and view it. And if I'm doing this here in the camera app or in Photos, I have the ability to edit, and now I can use things like filters on the entire video. So I can filter the video. I could go into Settings here and I could do all sorts of the controls that I'm used to doing with Photos. Now they're available on videos as well. There are some new gestures for handling text. So if you have text here in Notes and Mail, whatever it is you're using to edit text, you can now tap and drag to select. It's a little tricky. I'm going to tap and then wait for a second where the word "the" appears, and then I can kind of drag to select it all. Also, instead of using the cut, copy, and paste there, I could actually select some text and I could pinch in with 3 fingers. So I do a 3-finger pinch in, and look at the top of the screen. It says copy. Then I could go and paste it with 3 fingers pinching out, and you can see it says paste there. To undo, you can take 3 fingers and swipe left, and it doesn't undo. Now you can also swipe type, which means that you can put your finger on the keyboard and swipe around to the different letters to type something. So you can see how there was that little swoosh there in the keyboard. All I did was put my finger down for the beginning of the word and then swipe to each letter. You don't have to get it perfect. It kind of has a little bit of error correction in there. So it gets the idea if you just go near the letters that you need, and there's only really one word that can match that kind of swipe. If you're like me, you have a ton of tabs open in Safari on your iPhone at all times because you only see the current tab. And as you open up new links and hit links that open up a new tab automatically, you just end up with more and more tabs. So you end up with like 60 or 100 tabs, and you just clear them all out every once in a while. Well, there's a new feature that you're really going to like. If you go into Settings here and you go down to Safari, you have the ability to set close tabs to after 1 day, 1 week, or 1 month. So as tabs get older and you haven't accessed them for a while, then they'll automatically close. I'm going to start off with after 1 week. Now it's so annoying that every time you want to change a Wi-Fi network, you have to go into the Settings app and then into Wi-Fi and then select a new network. Well, now you can do that in Control Center. You swipe down here. You've got your Wi-Fi setting. I can tap and hold Wi-Fi and this menu comes up, and then I can tap and hold Wi-Fi there and I get my list and I can switch all without ever leaving my current app. And here's one last one in the settings. If you go to Settings and then go to Phone, you've got a new setting here for silence unknown callers. What happens then is if somebody calls you and they're not in your contacts list, you still get the call, but it's not going to ring. It's not going to bother you. This is a great way to deal with phone spam. Now, it's probably not going to work for people that use their iPhone for business, but for a lot of us, we simply don't want to get a phone call from anybody that's not in our contacts list. So at least now we can silence all of those and not be bothered. And a big new feature in the Maps app is Look Around, which is Apple's version of Street View in Google Maps. Now it only works in Honolulu, Vegas, and San Francisco right now, but Apple's going to be adding tons more cities really quickly. Till then, you can go to one of these cities and try it out. So you just go and tap and hold in a spot and it's going to go to the marked location just like before. But now you get this look around view and you can do exactly as you would expect here. And you can tap to go down the street. You can pinch in to see more detail and pinch out. It works great. I can't wait until it's rolled out all over the place so we can use it instead of having to rely on Google Maps for this. I publish new tutorials every weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Then hit the little bell icon to get notifications for each new tutorial.